For today's camera rig, I've got the Insta360 X5 set up on a selfie stick, and I'm using a clamp mount here to connect it to my bike. And my goal with this setup is to try and capture a shot that looks like somebody else is riding along next to me, filming me from their perspective, even though I'm just out here filming by myself. Now, as most of you probably all know by now, when filming with a 360 camera, the selfie stick that it's attached to will not be visible in the shot because it's like in a little bit of a blind spot there. So that solves that problem. But what you might not have known is that if you just need to capture a shot with the perspective of the camera looking straight down the selfie stick, instead of using the regular 360 video mode, you can actually scroll over here to the bullet time setting. And in this setting, instead of filming a full 360 video, it's just going to have the camera's perspective locked into place, looking straight down the selfie stick. And this unlocks the ability to shoot 5.7K at 120 FPS. I'm also going to be using a few techniques here to try and make this shot look less like it was filmed on an action camera and more like it was filmed on a cinema camera. And I'll be able to take advantage of the extra high frame rate that I'm getting with these settings as well. So now here's the shot just straight out of camera, and it's already looking pretty cool, but it definitely has all the tells of being filmed on an action camera. So the first thing that I'm gonna do is bring this into the Insta360 Studio software, and right below the preview window here, there's a setting called distortion control. And I'm gonna set that all the way down to 0. And then I'm going to bring up the field of view control. And this is looking pretty good, somewhere between 120 and 130, somewhere in there. Looks pretty nice. So what that did is just get rid of the fisheye effect that you typically have on action camera shots and flatten it out. So this is already looking a lot better. Here's before and here's after. There's also this cool effect over here called Motion in D that attempts to add a realistic looking motion blur to the video. And motion blur is something that I want to apply, but unfortunately this effect is pretty rough around the edges. You can see how the blur isn't being applied very well right around the bike. It kind of disappears here and then reappears on the other side and just doesn't look very realistic. This is a quick, easy way to add motion blur, so I thought it was at least worth mentioning, but I'm going to leave this setting turned off for now and show you the more advanced method that I use to apply a really professional looking motion blur to my action camera videos. So from here, I'm going to click Export, set the video resolution to 3840 by 2160, which is 4K, turn the bitrate up to 100, and then click Export. Now I'm going to open this in Final Cut Pro. Going to the effects browser here, I'm going to be using an effect called Motion Blur Prototype. This is a plugin that's not stock in Final Cut Pro, but right now it is free. So I'll leave a link to it in the description if you want to try it out. I'm going to use the Motion Blur 180 for this clip by just dragging it onto the video. Now, just applying the effect is not going to create a realistic looking motion blur quite yet. So what you have to do is make sure that the clip is selected, then hit Command R on your keyboard to bring up the retiming editor, and then just change the speed of the video by about 1%. And once you've done that, come over here to retiming, video quality, and turn on optical flow. This will probably take a few minutes to process, but once it's done, you'll have this really nice looking motion blur. Now, the only reason that this actually turns out looking so good in Final Cut is because I'm using that high frame rate 120 FPS video. If I was just using a normal 30 frame per second video, this effect would not turn out looking this good. Right now, the clip is playing back at 1/4 of the normal speed, so I need to speed it up. I'm gonna right click and create a new compound clip. Once that's done, I can hit Command R again and speed the video up by 4x. Now, last of all, I'm just gonna add a quick color grade to this. Starting off with a color board, I'm gonna bring the highlights and the midtones down to make them a bit warmer and push the shadows towards blue just slightly. Nothing too crazy here. Then I'm gonna add a color adjustment and bring down the brightness and the highlights just enough so that we can see some details in those clouds. And last of all, I'm gonna add a hue saturation curve and take the hue of green and push it just a little bit towards blue. I'll bring down the saturation on the green as well, but then actually raise the saturation on the reds and blues quite a bit. And I'm also going to lower the luminance of green just slightly to make those greens really pop. And that's it. This is the final shot. Again, here's what it looked like before, and here's after.